Caracas is 6 p.m. and this is CBX Business News. The business news headlines are brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. Questions over a historic warship visit, new energy exploration in Barbados, and German markets under pressure. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Wednesday, June 3, 2026. I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, the USS Nimitz visit to Jamaica is drawing public questions even as officials maintain the stop is part of a routine cooperation mission. Also ahead, Barbados opens 19 offshore blocks for energy exploration in a major push to attract international investment and advance its energy ambitions. And later, Germany's DAX falls 1.3% as trade uncertainty and Middle East risks weigh on investor sentiment. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. Remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a high-profile visit that government insists is about goodwill despite emerging concerns. The arrival of the USS Nimitz in Kingston Harbor is sparking public discussion, with government moving to reassure Jamaicans that the visit is a scheduled goodwill stop and not a signal of military escalation. The nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, among the largest warships in the world, arrived in Jamaica on June 1 and remains through June 5 as the final regional stop on the United States Navy's Southern Seas 2026 deployment. The visit comes amid heightened regional discussion surrounding U.S. relations with Cuba and wider geopolitical tensions, prompting questions from some members of the public about the timing and purpose of the stop. However, speaking at today's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says Jamaica was informed of the planned visit earlier this year and it should not be interpreted as a military signal.
We are aware of public commentary around the visit, including questions about how the presence of a warship should be interpreted in the current regional environment. And I want to place on record and state once more that this is a scheduled port visit under an established program of maritime cooperation and goodwill. They have been at sea for about 2.5 months since they left port in the U.S., and I ask our public to think logically. The U.S. has not been shy about demonstrating power and the possibility of force where they have wished to do. There would be no need to burden themselves with receptions and school paintings and community football and to use resources in this way in order to send a message of menace or threat. They have not been shy.
Beyond diplomacy, Johnson Smith says the visit is also spotlighting Jamaica's maritime capacity, reinforcing the country's ambitions to strengthen its role as a regional logistics and maritime hub.
We were advised of the planned visit earlier in the year, and we are very proud to be able to accommodate them in Kingston Harbour, demonstrating the actual capacity of the 7th largest natural harbour in the world. There are countries where they wanted to go portside but could not because they cannot be accommodated, and this is actually something that countries were very surprised about within South America, etc., to recognize that Jamaica can receive post-Panamax side vessels, and this does mean that we are actually well positioned to become that 4th logistics node that we're working towards.
That was Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. Jamaica is formally exploring nuclear energy partnerships with Canada as the government searches for new solutions to strengthen long-term energy security and reduce dependence on imported fuel. Speaking during his sectoral presentation in Parliament on Tuesday, Minister with responsibility for science, technology and special projects, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, says the arrangement builds on a memorandum of understanding signed by Jamaica in October 2024. The minister also made a clear statement that Jamaica is not constructing a nuclear power facility at this time.
The MOU was witnessed by Prime Minister Holness and covers civil nuclear power, explicitly, Madam Speaker, including small modular reactors, as well as nuclear medicine, industrial and agricultural applications as well. So I don't want us to get caught up in a one-dimensional way of thinking, assuming when we talk about nuclear sciences, it's all about nuclear weapons or nuclear reactors. Medicine, agriculture also are part of the nuclear discussion.
Meanwhile, Jamaica's nuclear discussion is moving beyond theory, with government now building the rules, partnerships and financing model it says would be required for any future program. Wheatley says the government has reconstituted Jamaica's Nuclear Energy Working Committee and is currently advancing the legal and diplomatic groundwork needed to assess whether nuclear power could eventually become part of the island's energy mix.
The Nuclear Energy Working Committee, Madam Speaker, has been reconstituted under this portfolio with a clear mandate to progress the structured assessment of nuclear energy's viability for Jamaica and to advance, Madam Speaker, the foundational actions that the program requires. The question is, what are those foundational actions? Madam Speaker, they are not capital intensive. They are institutional, legislative and diplomatic. They include, Madam Speaker, the development of a public consultation and sensitization program. Because, Madam Speaker, no responsible government announces a nuclear energy intention without first engaging its people honestly.
That was Minister with responsibility for science, technology and special projects, Dr. Andrew Wheatley. Grace Kennedy has expressed its intentions to expand its insurance footprint into additional regional markets after extending its partnership with Scotia into the Bahamas, Barbados, and Turks and Caicos. Speaking during a Mayberry investor briefing, Group Chief Executive Officer Frank James says the expansion builds on Grace Kennedy's Scotia Protect platform, a digital insurance service that allows customers to purchase general insurance online.
We have really expanded our strategic partnerships. This particular expansion into Bahamas, Barbados, and Turks and Caicos is with Scotia Bank. We had started that partnership with them a few years ago in Jamaica with our Scotia Protect which basically for our listeners is a digital platform that allows Scotia clients to go online and get their general insurance from GK General, simply put, right? So very convenient, very seamless, very easy. That has gone very well for us in 2025. That grew around 50%, and that's coming off a strong growth the year before, etc. And we have now expanded that relationship into Bahamas, Barbados, and Turks and Caicos. And we saw growth in that, of course, because it wouldn't have been in the first quarter of last year. But our expectation from that is it could, probably even double the size of the relationship that we have in that Scotia partnership.
That was Grace Kennedy Group CEO Frank James. In other news, Jamaica is repositioning its tourism industry under a new Tourism 3.0 strategy designed to strengthen competitiveness, deepen workforce participation, and deliver broader economic benefits. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the initiative marks a shift towards a more resilient and sustainable tourism model, one that places greater emphasis on people, innovation, and long-term sector development. Speaking during Caribbean Week in New York, Bartlett reflected on the industry's recovery following years of global disruption, noting that Jamaica rebounded strongly after the pandemic and had been nearing major visitor and earnings targets before wider travel market challenges emerged. The strategy places significant focus on workforce development. Bartlett says more than 25,000 tourism workers have been trained and certified through the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation, while new academies focused on gastronomy and entertainment are creating expanded pathways for career growth and leadership. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 103 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 48 declined, and 18 traded firm. Leading the winners are Margaritaville Turks USD, Mayberry Group, and General Accident Insurance Company JA, while leading the losers are Elite Diagnostic, Cygnus Credit Investments 8% preference shares due 2025 Class D, Lasco Financial Services, and Salada Foods Jamaica. The main index declined by 49.82 points to close at 338,836.09 points. The junior market index declined by 27.42 points to close at 3,016.83 points. It's time for the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. In today's Market Education feature, we're discussing the term fiduciary. A fiduciary is an individual or organization legally and ethically required to act in the best interest of another person, placing that person's interest above their own. Fiduciaries are most commonly associated with financial matters, including managing investments, overseeing assets, and making decisions on behalf of clients or beneficiaries. Professionals who may serve in fiduciary roles include financial advisors, money managers, executors, accountants, and company directors. That was the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
People said, "Doug, you're crazy. That can't be done. No, people lazy." Very often the people we overlook in what we think is the bottom rung of every organization are very often the smartest ones at improving productivity. Once people are clear on what they can do, and you give them the tools to do it, you'll be amazed.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. Barbados is opening its offshore energy frontier to international investors as the government moves to develop potential oil and natural gas resources and reduce dependence on imported fuel. The government has officially opened 19 offshore blocks under its Barbados 2026 Offshore Direct Negotiations program, inviting qualified energy companies to compete for exploration rights across the country's shelf and ultra-deep water acreage. The pre-qualification window opened June 1 and runs through September 1. Acting Prime Minister and Energy Minister Carrie Simmons says seismic data suggests Barbados could hold significant oil and natural gas resources.
We have done seismic surveys, two-dimensional seismic surveys and three-dimensional seismic surveys. And they would suggest to us that we have the potential of having perhaps as many as 13 or more billion barrels of potential oil, and then 40 plus trillion meters of cubic feet, of natural gas.
Simmons says natural gas remains the government's primary target, given its potential to help reduce the country's reliance on imported fuel and strengthen energy security.
If we are able to find natural gas, we are able then to use that gas as a bridging fuel, which will enable for us to be able to look after our own natural gas resources, our own natural gas demands, without having to pay the heavy price of importing it.
The minister notes that only companies with strong technical, financial, and environmental credentials will advance to negotiations as Barbados seeks energy partnerships that align with its climate and sustainability objectives.
We want to have companies that are partnering with us that have proven over their recent work that they are in the oil and gas sector, yes, but they are also methane managers, that they are effectively good stewards of the environment, that they are conscious of the climate challenges, and that their capacity is such that they can be aligned to what Barbados's objectives are more holistically.
Barbados Energy Minister Carrie Simmons. A new airline partnership is set to expand business and tourism travel across the Caribbean, linking the English and French-speaking region through a single travel network. Liat Air and Air Carib have signed an interline agreement allowing passengers to travel across both airline networks using a single ticket, with baggage checked through to their final destination. The arrangement connects Liat Air's routes across the English-speaking Caribbean with Air Carib's services in the French Caribbean and its long-haul connections to Europe. Liat Air Chief Executive Officer Hafsa Abduli described the partnership as a major step towards improving regional connectivity and expanding passenger options. The agreement is expected to support tourism, facilitate business travel, and improve access between Caribbean markets while helping bridge the region's English and French-speaking economies. Travelers will also gain more seamless access to Europe through Air Carib's network, including services to Paris. The new arrangement took effect June 1, marking another step towards improving air transport links and deepening economic integration across the Caribbean. In corporate news, the Epley Caribbean Property Fund Value Fund, CPFV, is reporting stronger earnings with high occupancy levels and rental growth continuing to support its regional property portfolio. The fund posted a 16% increase in net profit for the 6 months ended March 31. Net profit rose to 2.67 million Barbadian dollars. Shareholders' equity also increased to $138.2 million, while net asset value climbed to $1.02 per share. The company says the results reflect the continued performance of its income-generating real estate assets across the region. Meanwhile, CPFV managers say they remain confident in the fund's long-term growth prospects. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 21 securities, of which 4 advanced, 7 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are Ansa McCall, National Enterprises, Republic Financial Holdings, and Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago, while leading the losers are Prestige Holdings, Unilever Caribbean, Point Listas Industrial Port Development Corporation, and Massey Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index advanced by 17.25 points to close at 1,441.04. The Composite Index also advanced by 8.96 points to close at 997.30. However, both the Cross-Listed Index and the SME Index remained at 73.12 and 86.54 respectively. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-9235-111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
Welcome back. In international news, Germany's benchmark DAX 40 index fell roughly 1.3% Wednesday, reversing the previous session's gains as geopolitical and trade concerns unsettled investors. Market optimism faded amid renewed uncertainty surrounding Middle East tensions and mixed signals regarding diplomatic negotiations. Investor sentiment was further pressured after the U.S. administration signaled plans for tariffs ranging between 10 and 12.5% on major trading partners, including the European Union and the United Kingdom. The proposed measures were linked to concerns involving supply chains and products allegedly tied to forced labor. Banking and technology shares weighed heavily on the market. Among the DAX's largest decliners, Scout 24 fell nearly 5%, while software giant SAP declined more than 4%. Deutsche Bank also lost ground after its chief financial officer indicated second quarter loan loss provisions could exceed analysts' expectations. Automakers came under pressure as Mercedes-Benz dropped 3.1% and BMW declined 2.3%. Still, some defensive and utility-linked stocks posted gains, with RWE advancing 3.7%, while Merck, Bayer, and E.ON also finished higher. Meanwhile, investors are increasingly reassessing the outlook for interest rates and safe haven assets. Gold prices weakened Wednesday as investors weighed stronger economic data against growing inflation and geopolitical concerns. The precious metal remained near recent lows as markets increasingly anticipated that major central banks could maintain tighter monetary policy for longer than previously expected. Sentiment was also shaped by continued uncertainty surrounding diplomatic efforts involving Iran and the broader Middle East conflict. At the same time, stronger U.S. labor market indicators reinforced expectations that the Federal Reserve could remain cautious on interest rate cuts. Rising oil prices added to inflation concerns, further complicating the outlook for monetary policy. While gold is traditionally viewed as a hedge against inflation and market instability, higher interest rates tend to reduce its appeal because the metal does not generate income or yield. And in Europe, fresh business activity data from Italy is painting a mixed picture for the region's recovery. Business activity across Italy's private sector remained broadly stable in May, supported by improving manufacturer conditions. The S&P Global Italy Composite Purchasing Managers Index registered 50.4 in May, little changed from April's 50.5 reading. A reading above 50 signals expansion. Stronger manufacturing output helped offset a deeper slowdown in the services sector, although overall new business slipped slightly amid weaker demand. Employment continued to rise modestly across both industries. Companies also faced intensifying cost pressures. Input prices increased at their fastest pace in more than 3.5 years, prompting firms to raise prices at the quickest rate in just over 3 years. Economists say the figures suggest Italy's economy remains resilient, though inflation and uneven demand continue to pose challenges for sustained growth. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
It smells so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It smells so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It smells so good right now. Don't never, ever, ever wanna calm down. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, USS Nimitz visit to Jamaica draws questions amid Cuba tensions. Regionally, Barbados opens 19 offshore blocks for energy exploration. And internationally, Germany's DAX slides 1.3% as trade and Middle East risks mount. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.